Economic Park O&M Committee meeting to order. Ask for a motion approving the minutes of last meeting. Motion by Bill, second by Mayor Blaze. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Okay, so we got action item, authorized payment to the Village of Lake George for park expenses.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the packet is pretty much all various expenses. You'll see on, pages 1, 2, and 3, those are for, village staff time in, managing events and also doing some maintenance on the south parcel. On, page 4 is, utility bill. This is for, propane, for the building, now that that's in effect. What we are working, I'll mention with regard to, propane and other utilities, we're working on transferring, the utilities over into the county's, name, so that I can pay them directly out of our operational budget. But these bills are ones that the village has just received. And then, there's also on page 6, there's a phone bill, and this one is one that's gonna stay in the village's name until end of April, and when the contract expires.
Yep.
And then we'll work through our county IT department to, determine what's needed going forward, and we'll pick that contract up too.
Where's that phone, in the restroom building?
You have a phone line there, we have alarms that go through it, and we also
So they're not
have-
actually, it's not actually,
We do have a connection to actually put one
Yeah.
on the wall, but we have it, basically for the alarms.
okay. Okay, so we have a motion then to approve these invoices. Motion by Bill, second by Dennis. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. A discussion regarding park utilities.
Yeah, I kinda hit on that already
Yeah.
with some of these bills. So the intent will be to take over, to put the bills, the routine bills into the county's name. I'll be paying them out of our existing, county budget code, which is, A1625. And so I would anticipate going into next year, we'll need to do some budget adjustments to accommodate, some of the new utilities. And that, hopefully that will streamline things where it becomes routine and I can just pay it as a normal, bill and not have to
Right.
bring it through committee every time there's a utility bill.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be ongoing over the, end of the winter here, and then I'll be back to committee asking for some budget adjustments to accommodate those costs on a regular basis.
Okay. Okay, so then on to, referral, proposed rules for the skate park, referred to county attorney for review.
We received the county attorney's suggested changes, and we scheduled a public hearing for last Wednesday, and we adopted them and put them in as part of the village's local laws. So
Okay.
they're in place, and the language is been transferred to I guess the contractor.
For the sign.
Yeah,
It's
they've
doing
got the
a
latest
sign.
and greatest.
There is
that
a
we-
temporary sign up there now because the skate park has been used extensively, but, so we erected a temporary sign, but in the meantime, this regular sign was in a contract, which we talked about at our meeting previously. We may
Right.
try to get that price down on that sign. It seems exorbitant to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Okay.
So that's resolved, that can come off as a referral item.
Okay, and then 2 is the committee to discuss development of policy procedure for handling reimbursement of deposits. What deposits are we talking about?
This was a discussion regarding event deposits, and we talked about it specific to one particular event. It was the craft show, and then we talked about having to really kind of work on a set policy.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the deposits that we're receiving are being sent to your office, Jeff? Or are they sent to Lisa?
Yeah, and then I give them to Jeff.
Oh, okay, all right. So anything the village receives from applications for the festival space, security deposits or down payments, we've been sending directly down, with or without the applications to
Mhm.
Lisa.
So we don't have a plan as yet as to, a recommendation as to, you know, how much advance when we require them, how much advance notice we're gonna want before, and then under what circumstances we would refund,
On the, right.
you know, so but it's something I think we have to work out, and, we may need to compare the counties and the villages' procedures or policy regarding other properties, and I don't know how the village maintains, deposits on, you know, Shepherd Park or anything else, and we should probably keep consistent
Mhm.
to some degree with other county properties where we're accepting deposits.
Okay.
But certainly this is a whole new category of event and a whole new category of, expenses and potential loss to the county and the village
Right.
if there is a last minute cancellation through no fault of the county or the village.
I mean, I would think the general policy would be when it gets close to the time of the event, if there's a cancellation, you wanna keep a good part of the deposit, but with the ability to adjust for special circumstances.
I would think that 60 days notice would be appropriate.
I think we've got something written into the new contract
There
that
is.
says
I
that.
don't remember exactly the
I
date,
think
but
it's
there is.
60 days or
Permit.
90
It's in
days
that
that
permit.
they, right, that they, we'll have to look at that, but I'm sure we put something in there right now. And I think it's 60 or 90 days cancellation, we keep the deposit.
Okay, so I guess
I'll
this
check
one,
it.
we just keep on the referral till we have a
Well,
policy.
what I'll do is, the next meeting we have, I'll bring that in and I'll let the committee know what's in the existing permits as it stands now, and then see if there's any recommendations for
Okay,
adjusting it.
okay, so they'll stay on the pending items. Okay, and then we just had a meeting of the PMEC, and we had several items that we need to discuss there. One is on the cash flow and relationship between the county and the village when invoices come in. So as I understand it, the village has had to do borrowings twice, once for $400,000, once for $600,000, on anticipation notes.
Yes.
And it looks like the cash flow is such that the village will have to do that again, a $600,000 BAN. And what we did to help with the fact that the village has to do those borrowings is that we agreed that the county would pay 62% of the invoices when they're received on some of the contracts, but apparently not all. Is that right, Bill?
I think we paid 62% on any of the contracts that were being administered by the village.
Right.
Did not split out the cost sharing on contracts that were administered by the county.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, yes, Jeff.
And the reason for that is the county projects, the county has the cash fund balance to be able to float those without assistance from the village. So rather than clutter up village staff time and our staff time getting their 38%,
Okay.
the
So we pay 100%.
we pay 100%
Yeah.
knowing that we're not gonna get reimbursed by some of these grants for 6 or 9 months. So I know I became aware of this problem recently when the mayor reached out to me and Darlene, and, we had some success early on with being able to process that quickly, and then I think there was a period of time where there weren't any reimbursements, and I've had some staff changes as well, but I talked with, Kevin Hajos in engineering and also Betsy, my fiscal manager, about making sure that those requests are processed quickly. And what we will do in the future is we won't wait for a county batch through the auditor that's done every 2 weeks. If the village sends us a request, we will process it out of batch immediately, through the treasurer's office, so a check can be cut back to the village quickly on that. And the intent was always that the county will float that 62% on the expense, and then when the village receives a reimbursement in the grant, the village cuts a check back for 62% of the grant received. So it would be the 62% minus any local match funds that are part of the project, so, that aren't covered otherwise. And most of our local match stuff we've been able to cover with other local funds.
Well, that's worked out well up to now. Now, the backup time from DOS has been 6 or 7 months. And, and we're getting near the end of the project, but
And you're running out of local match.
we're running out of local match, so, I mean, we're prepared to go ahead and we're gonna have to take out another BAN for, it looks like 600,000 to cover this.
Are you comfortable, we've got the authority to do what you just described, or we need another resolution?
Yeah, well, we're kinda talking about two issues though.
Yeah.
One issue is cash flow,
Right,
and that was an issue frankly in my office, where those can be processed much faster. And because we hadn't been getting a lot of those, I think it kind of went under the radar. We've got our process in place, so as far as cash flow goes, if a project is fully funded with grant funds and local match, we will always we will reimburse or front the village that 62%. And we can do it much faster if we do it out of batch and out of audit. And the last time we talked with the treasurer's office on that was acceptable too, so we can process that. The other issue I understand is local match to match grant dollars, that have been received, and that's a whole different issue. That's a
Right.
matter of funding shares and,
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
right.
okay,
But so we don't need any new resolution to deal with the cash flow?
no.
Okay.
But I think if the village is doing a ban to cover their share of cash, of, local match, that's one thing, but the village shouldn't have to do a ban other than to cover their 38% of cash
Correct.
flow.
Well, a lot of that's gonna depend upon the next discussion, that we talked about it in the PMEC meeting, and we're prepared to bring it to this board, which I guess, Bill, you can explain where we're at as far as these last 2 contracts.
Okay, you want me to go ahead, Fred?
Yes. go ahead.
We've got, the village has 2 grants from DOS. One is coming to a close in the project period. We've actually got some work to do that'll carry beyond the project period, so we'll be asking for an extension to complete that. The other one is a grant to do the water feature and the park entrance signage, which, that project is just kicking off. It's a $200,000 grant to be matched with $200,000 at the local level. We have not identified any matching dollars for that grant, and we had the discussion at the PMEC as to whether we reprioritize the work that is yet to be done in the existing grant, which has a match associated with it, and switch the match over to work that the PMEC thinks is a higher priority. And if I reviewed with Ed of your staff the other day, the intermunicipal agreement covers the existing grant. There's no intermunicipal agreement to cover the new grant. So we've got an issue with allocating local match and then addressing the new intermunicipal agreement or revision to it to cover that new grant.
Right, and what we talked about in the PMEC was that the mayor's belief, which I agree with them, that the entrance sign is the most critical piece, and so then rather than, if we have a shortfall in the match, rather than putting it towards the specialty metal work and interpretive signage, that you're going to see what you can do with DOS to switch the scope of the work to allow at least the entrance sign and possibly the water feature to be covered first before going to the interpretive signage and the specialty metal work.
So after this meeting today, Bill and I will be calling Ken Smith from DOS and asking him how we should go about this, if it's possible at all, to switch, bypass putting out the interpretive signage and the metal work to bid, and going right to the contract 8, which is the last contract,
Right.
for the street signage,
Right.
not necessarily the water feature.
Right.
The water feature is a big part of it, but certainly if they allow us to do that, we'll have more than enough to to match, the next, work.
Right,
And we'll have the plans all done for the metal work and the interpretive signage. They'll just have to be put, on the side until we have the funding, to do it. Because, I think it's extremely important that we get those signs up for these events that are coming next year. They're gonna be, some of them will back out, I'm sure, some will be extremely disappointed. We need to, that's where our revenue source is, as opposed to the water feature and those things. But we do need, you need, if it's possible, to authorize the county attorney to, draw an intermunicipal agreement to cover contract 8. We don't have an intermunicipal agreement for that contract. That's the water feature and the, road signage, which is a $200,000 grant.
Jeff, you have something?
I would just think, I think the county attorney's gonna need to identify all the funding sources for that. So it sounds like we need to make sure that DOS is on board before anything can get
Right.
really resolved.
Okay.
Right. I mean, and should we include in that agreement that the entrance sign is priority 1, and then maybe the interpretive sign is 2, and then down to,
Yeah, or
water
maybe
feature
a
is
combination. It depends if the bridge work is in there. We may wanna put the bridge work across the
the railing for the bridge?
railings, yeah. We'll have to look at that and see what it is.
Okay. Okay, so I ask for a motion then to authorize or request the county attorney to draft this intermunicipal agreement regarding contract 8 for the water feature and entrance signs. Motion by Bill, seconded by Gene. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, then we had discussion on the flagpole. You wanna talk about that?
We got a couple of quotes, Jeff and I had talked a couple of times about adding a flagpole inside the festival space. One quote is for a 25-footer. I've had some emails with Jeff, he thought that might be a little bit small for that size of an area, so I got a quote on a 40-footer. The 25-foot flagpole is about $1,700, the 40-footer is about $3,800. So I guess we just need to decide what size. We can go from 20 feet to 40 foot in 5-footer increments. So we need to decide what size we want and how we want that area to look. Do you want just a flagpole put in there? Do you want like a 20-foot diameter circle of concrete around it, and like have a little service area, or what?
What is a flagpole? How's it set up?
It'll,
Is it sealed?
yeah.
Is that 25 feet above the ground, or does that
Above the
include
ground.
what's underground?
No, above the ground.
Above the ground?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually have
Think
a
that's
picture.
tall enough, so.
I thought either 35, I thought 35 or, I don't think you can go too big. That's my thought.
The
But I might be biased.
40-footer would come with a 6x10 flag. And the 25.
I think the one in front of the county center is 35.
And this is the pole.
Well, I would say at this point, that what the village would like to do is pay for the flagpole, and we would like to do the work, whatever the committee decides they wanna do around the flagpole. I think we can accomplish with our own forces, and we would like to do it, in memory of Howard Krantz. Howard, as you all know, that's been involved in the project, was very instrumental in doing the legal work that started. So, I don't think I'll have any problem convincing my board of that.
Okay.
And we'll do it, in conjunction with what the county wants.
Yes, Jeff?
Do you have anything that reaches that high?
What's that?
Do you have anything that reaches that high? 40 feet? Bucket truck?
No.
So what do you do in this mechanism in the top?
Have to bring somebody in that can reach that high, you know, like a bucket truck or something. Fire truck, yeah. We use GA West
35
to
feet.
get up high. It's got
35? I think 35 is big enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you get to 40, I mean, technically APA
Well,
would have
here
to
is
respond.
fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they count the underground part, so
And the one out here is
that'd be over
fine.
40
I
feet.
thought it was from the...
You don't wanna do that.
So you'd probably be right around
Grade level.
$3,000.
I'll make a motion, we approve a 35-foot.
Okay. Even that, you gotta make sure there's not more than 5 feet in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, seconded by,
They can they can measure
Dennis.
after it's installed.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Oh, and also, can we include in that to accept the offer of the village to pay the cost of it and to do the work for the base?
Easy, that's an easy part,
So,
Ted.
That's easy,
Okay? That's all right with you and,
yeah.
If I could just get some guidance, either Jeff and myself, or
Yeah,
or
two
Ed and Kevin, what do you want at the bottom, what do you want it to look
Okay.
like?
We'll work with the village
Okay.
on it. I know, just, there was some discussion regarding whether we wanted an enclosed halyard. I know some of my engineers with their prior experience on other projects, you know, have had issues with parks and people wanting to mess with the flags, and they do have the halyards that
I
are,
think this is an enclosed,
Okay.
enclosed, well,
that has a port basically, and
Yeah, the
you
bottom-
can't raise or lower the
right,
flag, yes.
it's the same as what's on the festival space now at the entrances, you have to open the door and get into the cam and turn it from there. I believe so.
okay. So is there anything, Mayor, that we're missing? I think we've covered it, haven't
I think so.
we? Anything else, Bill?
Just an update on the events, Lisa and I's been working. The county, approved, I noted, the two, large events that I've been working with in the fall. One is the Catskill Chill and the other is the Harvest Festival. One is for the last week in September, the other is the third week in October, which is, these are both two huge events. I just would want to say here that in order for those events to take place, we do need permission from the state to utilize the $1 Million Beach and Battleground Park facilities. Without those permits, both of the promoters have said their event is not possible. We have made application and we have met with the DEC folks. I've also contacted Senator Little and Dan Steck, and it's going to take some tweaking on DEC's part, but I would expect, as they tweaked it for Americade, to park motorcycles on the grass, that tents overnight will be acceptable, the same as we saw there last year when they had the reenactments. I hope we get permission from both. I'm working closely with Bob Stegeman, who we have his cooperation, and these are two enormous events that'll impact the entire county, not just Lake George. So we're hoping that DEC will come through and give us approve our TRP. The rest of the park, June is booked solid, September is booked solid, and we're working, of course, in July and August, which is the time of the year we didn't have a lot of success last year, but we still have some events looking at that. That's basically it.
Okay.
Do you think that July and August was unsuccessful because of lack of signage?
Well, in talking with the folks that did the events, some was the promoters themselves. I was one of them. Jonathan Newell, as you recall, did one right in the middle of John Strong's and mine. He was successful, and he's already signed up to come back. He utilized an entirely different procedure than John Strong did in contacting his memberships, and so he did well. I think it was a combination of hot weather during the day and lack of parking. That people during the day, the attendance was very low at all of them. But then as night came on and the beaches emptied out, you saw attendance rise. So most of the ones we're booking now, they're all starting at like 6 o'clock instead of 12.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see a different success. But yes, the signage on the road was extremely important. We, as you recall, we put up a construction sign, and that seemed to help a lot of people. But people coming in for the first time to Lake George, and as I said, seeing something going on over there, not knowing what it is, it's hard to decide whether you're going to take time to stop and see it. But with the new county parking lot and the signage on the road and And, the fact that, I think, the type of festivals we're getting now are, we're not putting one music festival right on top of another. And we're also finding out, as I did, because I booked the Glens Falls Symphony, that people aren't going to pay $10 or $20 and come to Lake George in the middle of July or August to see a band that they just saw a month ago for free in Shepherd Park or Crandall Park. So that was a mistake.
Yep.
Just looking through my notes, the other thing we did discuss was that it appears that if we were to do everything based on the existing budgets, there would be a shortfall in match of about $45,000. Is that right?
That is if we continue with the signage and the specialty work.
Right.
Specialty metal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
yeah. So if,
And that, those are based on an engineer's estimate, those are not based on
Right,
bid prices.
right, so when the bids come in, so just based on the engineer's estimate, if we do the interpretive signage, specialty metal work, water feature and entrance signs be an estimated 45,000 shortfall, but the bids may come in lower than that. There's probably contingency, 10% connected with those estimates. So we may be all right, but I think the plan is to delete alternatives or possibly just item by item so that you can stay within the budget. The only other question we discussed was that if the committees and the county and the village all wanted to do everything, and it turns out there is a $45,000 shortfall, would there be any consideration of using some of the revenue from the Westbrook Road parking lot, which will be in effect, and the mayor's estimating that'll bring in $100,000, which has probably already been budgeted for something else, right, Frank? Yeah. I mean, so that, it's too early to make any kind of decisions like that, or even a request, but that's what's in play, that may have to cut back on the scope of the project unless there's some willingness to use some of the Westbrook Road parking revenue.
Fred, that $45,000 shortfall was independent of the new DOS contract where we have to identify the local match.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a separate issue.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to prioritize the work now to get down to get finished the more important stuff.
Right.
With what money we have available.
Right. Whoa, gee. Okay. Okay, so is there anything else for this committee? Privilege of the floor for anyone not on the committee? Okay, Mayor, you have anything else?
No, just to thank you and, Bill.
Mhm.
This will probably be your last meeting with us,
I think so.
but, you both have been a very important part to,
Okay.
support this project and also for tourism, for the occupancy tax, and Fred's been with us since the start, 6.5, 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, you'll both be
Yeah.
sorely missed.
Yeah, I remember being involved in signing the contracts in 2008.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Okay, so thank you for all your work on it, Mayor, and Dave also, everyone involved. I think it's a great project, and I'm looking forward to it being fully completed. Okay, motion to adjourn? Motion made, seconded.
So did you have a
Bill, all in
CMBC
favor?
There was
meeting
a
this morning
point
at
when I
9
was
o'clock?
convinced that those buildings were still gonna be there. when
Oh,
they
yeah,
retired. You didn't know about it?
I bet, it's been long drawn
It
out.
was touch and
Bill
go.
sent out
Yeah, have you had a chance to go up
He
and
didn't,
walk
he
through
said
it
he
at
didn't
all?
get a
Yeah.
notice on the
Yeah,
PMAC meeting.
If you want, just call the village hall sometime, I'll give you a tour. I'm down there, I
Dennis,
check on
you
it
know
not
we have a
every
meeting
week.
with the school at 11:30 at the village
The
hall.
skateboard park is
Yeah.
still